Hi, I'm Aeon in this video. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Geometry Dash. Did I just spend 20,000 attempts? Okay, not 20,000. 19,000 attempts on a top 100 just for me to decide to play the same level again, but longer this time? Absolutely. I did not do this for Kowareta because Kowareta was a level that I didn't take a very long time on, but today we're going to be playing through Fragile, which is Kowareta, rebalanced, buffed, nerfed, all that stuff, and then they added another level on it. So it's Kowareta plus 50 seconds of gameplay DLC. So it's going to be interesting. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be taking you guys through it, talk a little bit about it, speak about the buffs, the nerfs, and everything, and that's pretty much it. This level is really cool. I initially just wanted to try it out just to see if it was worth going for on my end, and I decided, yeah, I like this level. I think it's genuinely fun, though I haven't actually gotten that far on it yet, so who knows? Maybe this is the worst decision of my life. Very well could be, because pretty much every single person that I've ever spoken to that has beaten this level says that this level is god-awful, so let's go into it. The first click is somehow harder than it is in Kowareta. I got it really quickly here. But this beginning, the first 15% of the level, which is the pre-drop of Kowareta, is so much harder. I have the fortunate advantage of being really good at the Kowareta pre-drop, because I've spoken to a lot of people who just straight up said that this beginning is like absurdly difficult, which it is. Don't get me wrong, this part is so goddamn hard, but I was really good at the Kowareta pre-drop. Everyone that I know, just they get 33 to 100 on Kowareta and then they just grind and hope for the best because they don't really reach 33 that frequently. I was getting to 33 basically every single attempt. If you guys saw my video, I got to 31% the attempt before I beat it, then I passed the first job again, and then I beat the level, right? I was really consistent with it. And even then, I struggle with this beginning, okay? I don't think every single jump is fixed, or buffed rather, but a lot of them do feel that way. But then there's a bunch of stuff that's like easier as well. Like this jump right here, this yellow orb was like the bane of my existence in Kowareta. I don't like ever die to this here because the hitbox, the really silly hitbox, is not there anymore. There's not like a slope here, so you can't like catch the corner. You can still die to this, right? It's not too bad, but the first 10% of the level is just, it's so much harder than it was in Kowareta. It's actually kind of wild. Like everyone I talked to was like, it's the Kowareta part is rebalanced, is probably a little bit easier. But I feel like that's partially just because of the fact that they still struggle with this beginning. I found the beginning in Kowareta really easy, and then now I'm having the hardest time of my life with it. This ship part, however, is much easier, and so is this dash rope click. I don't know why I died to it, because the dash rope click is like genuinely like 100 times easier. So at least this part, which is one of the things that I struggle with the most, is significantly easier this time around, which I'm very happy about, because I did not want to be stuck here. Although I'm not really showing that right now, am I? This part right here, I'm so unsure what to think of, because part of me is like, oh, this is harder, because the clicks themselves are just like objectively buffed. However, the things that I did really struggle with, I struggle with because I didn't have like a very good proper visual cue for them. But I do here. So I find this part a little bit easier, right? The only click that's like kinda equally as hard and still gives me trouble is this pink orb. And for some reason, I catch this corner a lot. As you can see here, this spike right here just exists. So if you catch this corner, which is very easy, it's very easy to just like hit this corner. You have to like go up very late here. You just like die to the spike and it's very frustrating. That's like the one thing in this part that's like actually bad. Fragile fixed most of Kowareta's really terrible hitboxes. Didn't fix that one. That's even worse than it was in the original, which, okay, fine, whatever, right? But for the most part, this part is more or less the same, but there are like two clicks that I really struggle with in Kowareta that I just don't find that hard anymore, which is salvation. I'm not gonna lie. That being one of them, and this being the other one. Those clicks are much more lenient, I find, which is a very good thing. I think they're a slightly harder. I don't know, but because you can so easily see them, it's so much easier. And then that part, that entire section right there is much harder than it is in Kova, but it was never hard to begin with. So it's still something that I just don't really die to like at all, which is good. It's very good. It's very fine. I'm very happy that with the fact that I just don't struggle with that, because I was kind of worried about it, because when I saw how much harder it was, I was like, I'm probably not going to be able to get to the drop very frequently, but I still get to the drop quite a lot, which is good. But here comes the actual hard part of Fragile. The Kowareta drop, 26 to 47 is absolutely brutal, and it's going to be the source of a lot of my pain and suffering as I start getting here, like basically every single attempt, and then I just can't get to 47, which is the extension. So the thing about this, the wave part is harder. It's buffed. Why? I don't know. I'm finding it a little bit more consistent though, simply because of the fact that, as you can see here, this right here used to be a saw blade in Kowareta, which I found to be really awkward to align with. So I struggle with the first click a lot. Not so much anymore. I do still die to this spike quite a lot, just because why not, right? like that. I didn't even plan that. That was just how it goes. So passing this wave is still like the biggest hurdle. The difference is in Kowareta is like 65%. Here it's 20. Here it's 30. So like the gameplay structuring is like the exact same. This ship part is buffed. So these two spikes for some reason are fixed. So this is a little bit tighter, but if you're used to going very low on this in Kowareta, it's basically the exact same because you just stay low, and then this fixed hitbox is very inconsequential. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't change anything like difficulty-wise, really. This is one of those random buffs that's just buffed for no reason to make it like objectively harder, but it doesn't really make it much harder. And I don't know, it's just odd, I guess. And then this part, this cube right here is like much harder. This is the part that I really have to practice a good amount, because 35 to 47, which is the second half of the Kova drop, for some reason is just much harder. And I can't really put my finger on why. It just kind of is. And it's kind of scary because it was the part of the Kova drop that I found to be the hardest in Kova as well. So that's scary. This as well still is just like one of the hardest things of all time for me. And I've died here twice so far. Fun fact, so far in Fragile, I've died more to the Kowareta 80s than I did in Kowareta like ever. So we're off to a great start. I still haven't passed it. I've died to this twice, and I've died to the wave right afterwards once. Is exactly this I died to. Good job, Aeon, for perfectly demonstrating what I've died to. I find this part like hard. Stuff like this pink orb and this yellow orb, which I struggle with a lot in Kowareta, I can align much easier. So even though they're probably harder inputs, just the alignment of it and the visuals of the structuring itself makes it feel a little bit easier, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. But this is just, I don't know, it's just, a lot of this is just like, it shouldn't be much harder, but it just kind of is. But it also, I feel like this level is a very good demonstration of how important structuring is for how difficult something is. Something can be objectively harder than something else, but still feel easier just because the structuring and the visual cues that you are given makes it easier and makes it feel easier. And I think this level is a perfect example of that, because it's a 1-to-1 replica of Kowareta in the first half, but a lot of it just feels easier because it's easier to align yourself with specific visuals and structures that makes the setup for the inputs themselves much more consistent, I find, which is a good thing. This strafe fly is much tighter, and if you look here, this is also significantly tighter because of the spike here. So this black orb timing is also like way more difficult than it was in Kowareta. So this part is surprisingly enough like way more scary. I've struggled a lot with this little section right here. In Kova, I got really consistent with it. Here, I don't really feel like I'm catching my like proper stride with it, if that makes sense. Anyway, now we get into Shibireta, which is the Kowareta, it's the extension, basically. This part is much easier. Like, once you get here, what you want to do with this part, essentially, is just grind it out to a point where you're so unbelievably consistent, to where if every time you pass Kowareta, you have a chance of beating the level, basically. Because passing Kowareta is the hard part, right? So as you can see, you get very consistent with it, right? Like, this is, I'm essentially just warming up right now, and I'm already getting like okay runs. This is a very hard click. I have a very hard time with this blue orb, so this is probably going to be something that I die to a good amount. It's not to say that the part after Kowareta is like super easy, because there are still things that you will very clearly die to. This jump right here, 53%, infamously a very, very tight jump, because you have to like respond to a jump like this right after teleportation. This part right here, this mirror portal part, is a little bit tricky. It's just a weird click pattern, I guess. It's just a sequence. It's just a long sequence of 1-2s. You go 1-2 pretty fast with the blue orb, pink orb, and then you go 1-2 with the green orb, then go 1-2 kind of slow on the blue orb, yellow orb, and then on the blue orb and red orb right afterwards, you go even slower. So it's like 2 fast ones, 1 kind of slow, and then 1 slow. Like that. And then this ship part is like the first like major choke point. I think 64 to 75 is like very difficult. There's a little bit of a break in between with the UFO part that's right after the ship, but this ship up until like the very end, until you get into the outro of the level, I think is like super hard. It's like this part right here, it gets very consistent. It's one of those parts that you just kind of get really good at, but it's still very much it's a very chokeable part, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And then this wave part, 71%, incredibly huge choke point. That's all I'm gonna say. It's like 4 inputs, And they're all very fast, but they're like ridiculously tight. And this portal click is like the absolute bane of my existence. Now, once you get here, that's like when it's like kind of loosens up a little bit, and you have until 86 before it gets like very hard again. I feel like I'm gonna get comments on that once I get like my clicks video out, is that when you click this and go down, you can just hold and your ball will buffer this first input. So this is just 2 clicks. These 3 things are 2 clicks. You just click this blue thing, go up, then you hold, so you go up, and then you can hit the pink orb. I find that very consistent. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. But then you get here, and this is where it like kind of chills out a little bit. This part is like very nerve-wracking. That was a really dumb death. But like once you get into this slow section, that's kind of like when you have like a very good shot at beating it. Like this part right here is like, it's very consistent. So I'm not like too worried about struggling with it, because there are a few hard clicks, but for the most part, it is very, very consistent, right? Like that's a thing. That's what I think the second half has over Kowareta, is that it's just so absurdly consistent to the point where you don't really worry much about it. Yeah, it's hard gameplay. It's very, very difficult gameplay. It took me 3 days, I think, to do the full thing. Yeah, I got 47 to 100 yesterday. It gets so consistent that it doesn't really matter too much, right? You just get really good at it. You just kind of like have to worry about the ship part, the wave part, and like 2 clicks of the ball. And that's pretty much it. The mirror part is a little bit weird, but it's like a consistency thing. It's a muscle memory based level. So you just full send your click pattern, feel confidence, and you're gonna be fine, right? Then we get to this part. This part is so scary and so difficult. There's a lot of blinking. So there are a few timings that are like not too hard, but then you have to do them like semi-blind and they become like 50 times harder. This click right here specifically, very hard. Like, I don't really know how to explain it. It's just, this part is just scary. You have to hit that green dash orb late, and it's all just, and especially after that big build up with the very easy ship part and the double spikes, it's like you have so much time to just get really nervous for this part. It's just very hard. I struggle with this part a lot. I think this might be the hardest part for me in the extension, which is terrifying considering the fact that it's the last one. This ending just, to me, just feels like are you able to keep your nerves in check? Because none of this is like very hard except for this one blue orb. This blue orb is brutal. This was added as a buff in the update because this was updated a while ago. Well, that was scary. But like a lot of this just, none of this is like super hard. It's just like, how clutch are you? But it's a good level. It's fun. I really enjoy this level. I think it's a very, very fun one. It's very enjoyable. Fragile is a very cool level. It's very fun. I'm going to be grinding this like relentlessly. Like I'm going to go so balls deep in this level that you guys are going to see the completion of this much faster than you think, I reckon. Yes, I already have Kowareta completed, so obviously I'm going to be able to do it faster just because of the fact that I've already gotten 50% on this level essentially. But keep in mind that the Kowareta part I think is slightly harder. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. This is going to be my 4th hardest, and then Fragile here, 1 spot above Sary Never Clear, which is my 4th hardest. So this is going to be my 4th hardest according to the demon list, which is kind of scary. 4th hardest is difficult. That's a hard level, right? So it's very high up on the list. It's gonna push Rust out of my top 5 though, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing my very best to grind this level out. I think it's very enjoyable. I'll see you guys around. Eat your green, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Thank you for making my day better. Hope my ears a little bit better too. Wish me luck. I'm gonna need it. Watch on Twitch if you want to watch the grind. I'm gonna be grinding it basically every single day. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Take care, everyone.